Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX. This week's a little bit different show. We're just going to have a general chat about the current boxing news in general. And I'm pleased to say joining me this week is Charlie Stewart. Welcome, Charlie. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Steve, mate. Nice to see you this fine Monday. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yep, brilliant to have you on. This week, we should have been talking about this fight, Fury versus Usyk. Should have been this Saturday. First question for you: how disappointed are you that it's not happening Saturday?
I mean, definitely disappointed that it's not. I mean, mainly because it felt like it was a chimera for so long that wasn't going to happen, and it was within touching distance. So I'm very disappointed that it's not happening. However, I don't know about you, but I did feel that because of the new year, it was just on the turn of the new year. It had sort of slipped under the radar a little bit, and I think with what's happened with having the Joshua and Garner fight in March, and then having this, which is still a bit further away than we would have liked, but I still think it makes for a pretty compelling. I think it probably makes the fight more compelling when it comes. So it's disappointing. Like I think this is the week where I would have been having my lunch and watching a press conference with John Fury throwing something at Eagles, and I was ready for it because I think it's such an interesting fight. It really is one that you try and objectively run through round by round, and it's especially after the Ngannou. I mean, even before the Ngannou fight was interesting, but after that, it's made it something that's quite interesting to get your teeth stuck into when it comes to actually thinking about how it's going to pan out. So disappointed, mate. But the fight's been re-signed. It's in May, and we got to see the funniest one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I loved seeing the announcement on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and when they had the announcement between Usyk's team, Usyk and Fury and Turkey Al Sheikh, and seeing that Turkey Al Sheikh, who we might discuss a bit later, is a true boxing fan at heart, throwing the instinctive uppercut shadow boxing punches, just stole my heart. It really, and we would never have seen that, and that's it's like so.
Yeah.
All in all,
how realistic are you thinking 18th of May is going to happen?
I think it will. I think the cut's bad, but not.
Yeah.
I think it looked worse. I think it looked worse than it was in many ways, because it's. I think where it is, it's still a concern, undoubtedly. But you look at Fabio Wardley's fight, or his last fight in Saudi, albeit on a completely different scale. It's a much bigger fight. The undisputed fight is much bigger, but the cut that Wardley had was pretty bad. If maybe not worse, but it was pretty bad, and he went ahead and was able to fight. Wasn't affected. Like I say, it's different circumstances, obviously, but it's, I think, a number of months. If they'd announced, a 3 or 4 week delay, then I'd be thinking that's a bit optimistic. But I think May's fine, and I think within that framework and within that operating framework of the Saudi machine pulling the strings, I think that it's more likely, but still not absolutely certain that we see it on that date, because he is going to spar again. And he might get cut again. You'd think they will take every precaution, but you never know, do you? So
I heard Usyk say today he's fighting regardless. 18th of May. So even if Fury's not ready, he's still fighting.
I saw that. I think I saw him in an interview he did afterwards, didn't he? Where he said that he'll, and if if that was to happen, and he fights Hergovic, or whatever transpires, and what everyone wants to see now. As well as how compelling the fight is for closure on just having this thing that's felt completely unobtainable, had to see it happen and see it take place.
Yeah, I'm sure Derek Chisora would be around to take a
he'll be there.
He'll
be there. He'll be there. Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury 4. Yeah. But who knows? Well, maybe he'll stick in. I mean, people still give him his fight against Usyk. Still, people speak about as he did better than expected. So maybe he'll jump in and fight Usyk.
You never know. 18th of May is a long time away.
and as much as like the Saudi the fights that have happened in Saudi have been, characterized by the big fights, but there's also been a through line sometimes of the unorthodox and fights that don't, in many ways, kind of makes sense in a certain way of thinking, but in another way that's quite fun. It's just there is a random a certain randomness to some of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, who knows who might
Who
get pulled in,
knows?
but
Yeah.
if it's, I think the likelihood of it being a Hrgovic Usyk, which is still a fight I'd like to see, would
But
be interesting.
hopefully,
So,
fingers
but
crossed, we
hopefully
do
it's
get
not.
the
Fingers
Fury
crossed.
is that's what all the fans want. They want unification, don't they? Really. So
Yeah, well, exactly, and like I said, to almost put a degree of closure on an
mhm.
era that in heavyweight boxing, that is another thing that's been sort of has been synonymous with things not quite happening and things and expectations that aren't met and that sort of thing, and to finally we've seen Wilder and Joshua, they came close,
Mhm.
and even when they'd signed, they couldn't, the circumstances didn't allow the fight to happen. So
Yeah.
it
Do you think
just
we'll
it
ever
just
see that
seems.
fight happen? Maybe, or not now? Is it
I,
gone?
I
Yeah.
think if Wilder comes back
Mhm.
and fights someone who's on the Saudi circuit at the moment, one of the big heavyweights, and gets a good stoppage win, I
Mm.
could see it. I'd still watch it if it was made now anyway. But I think if he came back and got a good win, even if it wasn't against someone fantastic, imagine he goes against Martin Bicoli and stops him in 2 rounds. Then
Yeah.
you sort of go, all right, AJ Wilder. If Wilder, AJ does a good job on Ngannou, Fury
Mhm.
and Usyk, maybe they get signed for a rematch. So
Yeah.
if they, if he came back and won, I'd still watch it. But I don't know. I think I saw some footage or some. I think he's done a couple of interviews recently, hasn't he? Where he sort of indicated that he's going nowhere and he wants to come back, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be
Well, he's
interesting.
back in training.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
put one
yeah.
out there for you. What about Wilder versus Joyce?
I love it. Yeah, I'm fascinated by Joyce versus Wilder, and especially now, considering where they both are in their careers, it would have been
Mm.
great to see any time. But I think it's
It'd definitely
curious
be a
because,
must win, wouldn't it, for both fighters? I would say.
well,
Mm.
exactly. I mean, Joe Joyce, you would think, goes in and does a job against Cash Ali, who's fighting up next, isn't
Mhm.
he? And
Mhm.
then him against Wilder in Saudi
Yeah.
would be fantastic. It would have been amazing when we still had the perception of the inexorable juggernaut who cannot be dented, and
Yeah.
now that now that he's been big banged,
By Zhang.
now
Twice.
you're sort of thinking to go
Yeah.
from big bang to the bomber. That's just not like the most auspicious.
No. No.
So
Yeah. There's like I said, there's good fights to be made.
yeah,
While we're talking about the undisputed belt, they've made this belt.
look at oh
what,
yes.
what what do you make of that?
I don't. I mean, I'm not against. I'm not against the idea, because
Hmm.
I think there's a bit of a paradox in that we all want a single champion, but the single champion requires 4 belts to be competed, and then
Hmm.
it comes with the inevitable scattering and all, which has its ups and downs. But there is something about it that I don't mind, but I kind of, I mean, I like the Muhammad Ali Trophy. I think something like
Yeah.
that would have
Would have
but
been better. Yeah,
I
do you think
think
it could
so.
come a bit to like, WWE wrestling with all these belts,
Well, I mean, I've just seen the Undertaker
Mm.
present a trophy to Cristiano Ronaldo in Riyadh the other day. So who knows what might happen? Who knows what might happen at the Undisputed? You might get Shawn Michaels coming in and kicking the belt over to. You just
With
don't
John
know.
John Fury in the background, no doubt. He'd be somewhere in the mix.
Oh, he'll be up there with Kane
Yeah.
kicking off.
With his
So
shirt off as well.
yeah,
Standard.
unquestionably.
Standard. Change the subject. We're talking about this guy, Ben Whitaker. Last weekend, wow, he
Mhm.
hit some crazy, crazy numbers on the social medias everywhere. Well, it was a couple of weekends ago, but yeah,
Yeah.
what do you think of Ben? Is he like a Marmite fighter? Love or hate him?
I mean, I think he is. Evidently, I think some people do seem to very much like him. Some people
Mm,
seem to very much be annoyed by him, which is good. I think it's healthy. It's quite. I think it's quite a good expose of boxing. What's quite unique about boxing fans and
mm,
how they interact with the sport, and and because there isn't as much distance. I think boxing fans feel a bit closer to the levels of to the fighters themselves, the athletes
Yeah.
themselves, in one way or another, which is what's one of the things that's so good about it. But I think you can sometimes not see the wood for the trees because, like, whether or not I don't see Ben Whittaker when he does his move, when he does some of his more theatrical moves in the ring against a substandard opponent, compared to his levels opponent that he's much better on. I
Hmm.
don't watch that and I'm not amazed by it. I'm not clicking my fingers going, "This is amazing." Like, sometimes I find it a bit, in the circumstances, a bit daft, but I also get frustrated when I see someone go in with a journeyman and jab and move for a few rounds, and it's a bit, not a lot of
Yeah.
action. I think, on balance, we always talk about needing characters in the sport, and
Hmm.
it should, even if you don't like him, it should be a win-win for you, because if he goes on and fights at the highest level, still doing the same, in the same style, then we've got a prodigy. We have an absolute genius in our hands. If he
Yeah.
goes up and he gets battered, then
Yeah.
not my style. But if you really don't like him, then you get to see him get beat. So I don't.
Yeah. Do you
What I
think
don't
what he's
understand.
creating here, though, is creating a lot of, obviously, publicity for himself? But do you think like 50% of the fans want to see him lose, and 50% of the fans
Definitely,
obviously want to see
yeah.
him win? So it's
I,
not a
I,
bad
I
thing, is
think
it?
so.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, mate. I think
Mm.
that's it, and I think, I think that, it's one thing to say, I watched Ben Whittaker. Oh, what do you think of that? It's a bit annoying, or it's a bit much. It's another thing to say he should be stopping that. This is disrespectful. It's like, guys, come on. Like, he's doing something a bit differently. So
Yeah.
far, the eye test, like
Yeah.
with Anthony Yard, for example, he didn't do he didn't do things like that, but he had for a run of opponents that would seem to be far, far beyond beneath his level. But you
Mhm.
still looked and thought, he passes the eye test. He's still
Yeah.
doing things in the
Yeah.
ring that make him look like he could compete at the higher level. That's why you wanted him to. And then when he did, he didn't win, but he put on a good show against Linda, fantastic showing against Lyndon Arthur in a rematch, and he put in good spirited
Yeah.
performances. So
Yeah.
it just shows. I think Ben Whittaker, regardless of how far he goes, I think what he's doing and the way he's doing it, is great. I think
Yeah.
it's
I
all
think.
people are.
Yeah, I think as long as people are tuning in, he's getting the viewing figures. He
Exactly.
he he won't care, to be honest with you. As long as people are
Right, of
tuning in,
course.
buying tickets, and talking about him, I don't think I think he'll carry on.
Well, yeah, well, exactly,
Mm,
and I think, in a sense, the fact that he's going in against people who people are saying, he's far, 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 far above their level. He's going in
mm,
there, doing what he's doing in the ring. So, well, that's almost kind of what you want to see. Like, he
yeah,
he should be going in there with the elite mindset of, I shouldn't. This is literally playground stuff for me. I could do what I want in here, and
yeah,
and then, you'll see when I step up the levels what'll happen. But no, I think, all power to him. As long as he gets, I think, now that he's kindled quite a lot of wider interest. Maybe
mhm,
starting to pick up those viral videos on social media, and
yeah,
picking up certain interest in the mainstream, or just starting to kindle that interest. I think now, maybe he does need to step up. I mean, I think an Olympian,
yeah,
and at the level of talent that he's demonstrated, and the physical prowess that he's got. He's not young. He's not a 20 year old,
mm,
fresh out of GB. I think he said he's coming 26 now,
mm,
25, 26. So I think he's ready to be stepped up,
step
and
up a level.
then we'll see,
Yeah,
and that's the fun, because, like you say, if you're not a fan, you'll tune in to see if he pulls it off. If you
yeah,
are a fan, you'll tune in to
absolutely.
see it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That. Moving back to the Saudi card, obviously this one's coming up. We got AJ Ngannou. Just a quick one. It may be
Hmm.
a daft question, but who wins?
Who wins? I think AJ does him, and I think, after the Fury fight, once there was rumors that this fight at some point might happen, and then it sort of happened more earnestly after the fallout of Fury
Mm,
not happening for the 23rd. I think, in the circumstances, I really like the fight, because I think what Ngannou did against Fury, just objectively, I think it's perfectly primed for Anthony Joshua, who, he's similar. I think love him or hate him, and there's been plenty of both in the last few years, which
Hmm.
is amazing when you consider just how faultless his career was for so
Hmm.
long. I think he's really in a position to almost come in as, people sometimes forget that the one of the themes of Ngannou Fury was MMA boxing. This MMA, you had McGregor, he went over to Mayweather, and he
Hmm.
thought he had a chance, and Mayweather showed him what it was all about. And now Ngannou's shown in, this is your lineal heavyweight champion, and he's just knocked him out. And most people, or a lot of people, thought he won. I think for AJ to come in now as sort of the savior of boxing, to say, right, that was a bit of a circus. I'm going to come in and you'll see what a heavy jab does to someone like Ngannou in 2 rounds, and I'll stop him
Yeah.
inside 4. Like I think it'll be akin to that.
So you're saying it's all about AJ making a statement, doing what Fury couldn't do, basically.
To do, yeah, he's basically doing a job, whereas Fury
Mm-hmm.
was putting on a performance. I think
Yeah.
I think AJ will go there and he'll take it seriously. I think after the last fight, he'll have to take it seriously. I think Ben
Mm-hmm.
Davison will take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I reckon inside 4 rounds comfortably.
Statement.
I
Inside
think so.
inside four. Wow, that's a
Inside
big
four
shout.
rounds.
Yeah,
I
that's a
reckon
big
so.
shout.
I reckon so.
Some might say on that undercard we got Zhang versus Parker. Probably they may
Mm,
say it's more interesting than AJ versus Ngannou. But yeah,
yeah,
what do you think?
yeah, yeah. More, I think definitely more interesting as a trade fight as well, and just as a fight in general. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting. I mean, it shows what a run of good performances, activity, and then the big win against Wilder can do, because a while ago, even when he was fighting, was it Jack Massey in Manchester, and he was just
Yeah.
having a few nothing fights. Parker, at that point, if you announce that Zhang after he's just done what he's done against Joe Joyce, I think most people would say that Joe Parker gets stopped and gets
Yeah.
hurt in the fight potentially. Now I think after what the form that he seems to be in, I think the performance against Wilder, however, it was a fantastic performance. I do wonder how much of that was more of Wilder being poor than Parker
Okay.
being fun. I
Good.
think Parker
Yeah, it's
had a
interesting.
really good game
Mm-hmm.
plan. I think he performed well, but just looking at how he performed and then thinking, well, if a Zhang, who's on the same sort of level that he's shown in the past 2 fights against Joyce, goes up against the Joe Parker that beat Wilder, did I see anything from Parker that still makes me think? I'm not too sure, which is why it's a great fight.
Okay.
I think if Joe Parker can show the same work rate and can box and move a bit, but like he'd been doing with Andy Lee, where planting his feet at times, it'd be a great fight to watch. I think it might be quite similar to the Joe Parker Joe Joyce fight
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, but I think if Joseph Parker gets caught, I think he could definitely get dropped, if not stopped by
Yeah.
Zhilei Zhang,
Okay.
as
But put you on
anyone
the
could.
spot then. Prediction: who wins?
On the spot, I'll say Zhilei Zhang, Zhilei Zhang,
Fair enough.
Zhilei Zhang.
Yep. That's fair enough. This is what the show's about. Put you on the
Stoppage,
spot straight
stoppage,
away.
or stoppage or points, I don't know, but Zhilei, yeah, my instincts go with the big bang, man.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Talking about boxing in general and Saudi as well, do you think that's a good
Mm.
thing or bad thing for boxing?
I think it's definitely, I think it's a good thing and a curious thing, because I mean, I don't think you could say it's a bad thing, because
Mm-hmm.
I think there are ways that someone could come in with a lot of money and do it badly, and I don't think that's necessarily been the case. I think it could have been a lot worse,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's. I thought it might have acted as a bit of a choke point on fights being made, but it's evidently not. I thought I would. Things like broadcasters and all that stuff that used to hold up fights, all of that other auxiliary stuff just seems, as well as the money, which is, and the guarantees that can be made, which is the prime cause of these things happening. All that
Mm-hmm.
other stuff, you would think, well, the money's been there for fights before, but it's the complicated things, it's the contracts, it's the legalities, and it's that stuff as well that seems to have been boxed off
Yeah,
pretty well. So I think it's, I always, you can't help but think that boxing has a different iteration in its future. You can't see it forever just being, like you saw with the World Boxing Super Series, when I saw the Saudis coming in this, after sort of the skills challenge era, if you want to call it that, and that now into this more formal sort of closer to the government, closer to the formal investment bodies of the Saudi government and things like that. I think the first thing I thought was, could they not? Have they ever heard of the World Boxing Super Series? Could they not just
Probably not.
could they not just
Yeah,
invest that and get that up
yeah,
and going? And if it's that kind of a thing where they talk about having, people forget. I think the more fights that are held in Saudi with using Queensberry and Matchroom really as the source for the talent, then the accounts of both Queensberry and Matchroom are going to be very well lubricated, which is going
yeah,
to mean they can sign more fighters. They can leverage bigger budgets with the broadcasters. They can get contract extensions. It's, I think, in the round, a good thing. I think if there was some strategy behind it, which there does appear to be, it's not completely random, although
yeah,
there are some quite random. I mean, some of the pictures and the big balls and stuff
yeah.
have been interesting to see. But in the round, I think, yeah, a good
It's
thing.
done.
I do.
Yeah,
It would, because you, I mean, you think about with the golf, for example, if there was something like that, if they formed a body where it's like, we're going to be the UEFA of boxing
yeah,
globally now, we're gonna have these big events, and you do smaller events to get your spot or whatever it might be. But yeah, I like it. I'm all for it.
yeah. Good. Change the subject again. Another controversial fighter, Conor Ben. Again,
Hmm.
in the news quite a bit. Again, what do you think about Conor and the whole sort of situation there as well?
I mean, it's just a title. I mean, it's been a bit of it. I think the handling of it's been the worst, probably the worst aspect of it. And I think ultimately, people are well entitled to ask a question with things that don't quite add up, and there are some things that just don't seem to. But ultimately, I think it's coming to the end of the line in terms of everything that seems to be going on in the background now, and I think it'll be nice to see it to sort of take its more of a natural conclusion, and then see what happens, because I'd be lying if I said it didn't mean, like, I think everyone was getting excited when Conor Ben came back. He was injured for a while, came back after, and then fought in fight camp, I think, against Formella, and looked amazing, looked
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Hmm.
And from there, people were rightly getting behind him, but you can't whittle on my head and tell me it's raining, like, and we all saw tests that,
Yeah.
that were failed. And if you had a football team and they were done, there was a similar thing where they'd failed tests, and then a few months later, the players that previously looked incredible looked a little bit off it, and you'd be asking the same questions. So I think it's a shame. It'll be good to see it concluded, and as long as it doesn't result in a Chris Eubank Jr. fight, then good
That's
luck to him.
fine.
I hope it does all right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. Always do a tweet of the week for my followers, and this one goes to Charlie Burley, TBE, on his comment about John Fury on Instagram challenging Carl Froch to fight at Wembley. He put 93,000 at Wembley to watch this silly old bastard. Wouldn't draw 93 people. Should it really, honestly, be embarrassing? What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that it. I mean, I think the likelihood is nothing will come out of it, which is a relief. But even just the thought of it, I think. Do you know what, a Misfits type event at the MEN, would I buy a ticket if it got announced?
It's your time
I,
to confess now, Charlie.
I don't know. I might plead the fifth on that one until it
Yeah,
happened.
I
until it
would do.
happened.
Yeah,
But what I certainly wouldn't be going to Wembley for it.
no.
And no, I think fair play to them for making a bit of a hoo ha about it. But
Yeah, we
yeah,
know Carl Froch is quite outspoken, isn't he? So,
Carl Froch, yeah, completely.
mm,
I quite like the dynamic. I like the way
mm,
Carl Froch. I like the way he handles himself, the way he talks. I just think he's very funny and very
mm,
very direct. So it was quite a novel thing to see them going at it. But I'd rather not see them exchanging fisticuffs, to be honest.
yeah, sure. Uh, close to that. Always give a tweet of the week to one of my followers, but I must admit I've got a soft spot for Fabio Wardley.
He's
and
good, isn't
obviously this one was close to second place. Announcement of Wardley versus Clark. In this tweet, Daddy, you let me come and play with the big boys. With Ben Shalom there pushing the pram. Great work there by Wardley, I must admit. But yeah, what would you think of Wardley versus Clark?
That's a great fight. I think it's a great fight. I think it's come probably the perfect time now. I think it's. I think the extra fights that Fraser Clark's had will have benefited him, and it makes it for a more interesting fight. I think the fights that Fabio has had, likewise. So yeah, I think it's come at the perfect time. The undercard for it seems like it'll be a cracker as well. But the fights, it's interesting. I think I watched the Fabio Wardley fight against David Adelaide, and I thought it's like as is typical now with Fabio Wardley. His finishing's fantastic. It's very exciting to watch. But no one seemed to be mentioning too much that he was getting caught. Maybe he just wasn't bothering, that's why, but he was getting caught with the jab quite a lot. He was getting caught with the jab. I remember noticing it every round he fought up until he stopped him. David Adelaide would catch him with the jab, and his head wouldn't be moving at all. And the first thing I thought was, if that's Fraser Clark, he's got a fast, sharp, well tuned jab. It's an interesting fight. I favour Fabio Wardley. I do favour Fabio Wardley. I think Fraser, mate, I could see him expending his energy a wee bit too much. I think for Freddie Clark, I could see him either expending his energy too much in the first few rounds and tiring, or not committing because he's worried about tiring and not doing too much. But either way, I see Fabio Wardley winning.
Yeah, I think Clark would probably be the most technical fighter, isn't he? That Wardley's probably full.
Definitely, definitely, but, and probably Fabio Wardley's had some good fights on paper, but fighters at very different stages of the career. Whereas Fraser Clark, after what happened, and this now being his first big test, big stage fight for Sky, he'll really have the bit between his teeth. I mean, it's not that far. It's not that far when you think about it. The 31st of March, February is a short month, so it'll soon fly in. So very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a cracker of a fight. Well, that's it pretty much for this show. Thanks, Charlie, for coming on. Thanks for your time. Obviously, everyone out there, your likes, your comments, and all your subscriptions mean a lot. Hit that like button and subscribe. And please comment on any subjects below you felt relevant, you want to speak your mind on. But thank you, Charlie, for coming on the show. Great to have you, and appreciate your time.
Not a problem, mate. Yeah, pleasure to chat to you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Cheers, mate. All the best.